This is my model of Samparai, one of the contenders at the Rainhill trials, and you'll see that it's hitched up to a carriage, and more on that in a moment. And there's might as well see the faces of the driver and fireman. But this video is about the carriage, and it's this first class carriage which I've modelled on the basis of the drawings and in the books, contemporary drawings of the time, and the replica which is at the National Railway Museum. And what I've done is I've created quite a lot of them. We've got the first one here is the first one I tried was Huskerson, and then having got that one finished, I then just simply redid the name, because these obviously Liverpool Manchester, the way they're written on the side is very much like the road carriages of the day, where you would have a carriage which had a specific name which always travelled between 2 points, say London and I don't know, Canterbury, something like that, and they'd be called something like the Express or the Bang Up, or who knows what else. They had other names, and so each of these carriages got their names, a little bit like the carriages in a certain cartoon series, originally books, hauled by a particular 040 little engine. So this one is Huskerson, this one's Dispatch, and then we've got Experience here, Marquis of Stafford, and Queen Adelaide, Times, Traveller, Treasurer, and Wellington. And so these are all names which I was able to find out about the Liverpool and Manchester Railway first class carriages, and it's only the first class carriages that are named in this way. So the idea was just to be able to have a range of first class accommodation if you wish to run some of these very early trains. Of course, you would have to have not Samparai but Rocket, which is available on the download station, as I recall. Now, what else have I done with these? Well, I've added some load points here because I wanted to reproduce some of the other aspects. So let's have a look at that. And so using the query tool, we're in Surveyor, by the way, and let's do it on Huskerson. And you'll see here that I've got passengers, I've got something I've called a guard, and luggage, so that will become pretty obvious. So first of all, let's load up with passengers. It will take 18 passengers, and unfortunately it's 60 years later, but John Whelan's 1890 UK passenger set is really the only one suitable, even remotely suitable, available. And if anybody wants to create a passenger set based on characters, how they look, say in, I don't know, in a Jane Austen novel or something like that, then please do, because we desperately need it for these early models. And I'm just going to tick that there for the moment. I'm going to come back to it, but you can see there the passengers just sat in the three individual compartments there. Pretty straightforward. The interior, I've kept it fairly simple, black interior woodwork, black painted interior woodwork, and the partitions and the seats were all covered in this sort of buttoned grey flock, which I've tried to reproduce, you'll see there, but I've tried to keep the texture size down as much as possible, so it's a sort of nod and a wink towards the actual interior of these carriages. Otherwise the mesh count just goes, and not so much the mesh count, well, the mesh count is high, but also just the sheer requirement of all the textures is pretty high as well. Okay, so I was just looking there, I thought I had a reversed outline there, but it's because of this way in which the buffers are sprung. So what else can we add to this? Well, let's just make sure I've got that. One of the other things we can add is luggage. These were designed to carry roof luggage. So what I've done is an adaptation of other luggage loads that I've made for Donegal rail cars and such, and GWR vehicles. And so there we are. There we've got two luggage loads. You can see all I've done there is that is the standard luggage load, and rather than having them just repeated too obviously, I've rotated one of the load points in order to spin them round a bit. And finally, what else can we do? Well, of course, we can have guards, and we can have two guards. I've seen on the drawings a guard on each end of the carriage. So there we are with a guard at each end. I've made a simple guard figure. This is based on the one of the early Oran figures. I bought the CD years back now, and so I've just manipulated one of those, given him a hat. But of course you don't have to have two guards you don't have to have guards at all if you don't want. Let's just take it back to one, and it's pretty much pot luck whether you're going to get him at the right end, if you want him looking forward or looking back. I suppose the thing to do would be to rotate the carriage. I mean, let's try that. Let's have a look at the Marquis of Stafford. That is the correct spelling of Marquis. Marquez of Stafford appears to be the way. So I've just turned that round, and so if I just choose one guard, because always they'll fill up with the attachment points, the lowest attachment point first. So hopefully this will show at the back of the carriage. Yes, there we are, looking backwards. So because these are bilaterally symmetrical, if you chop them down the middle, they're mirror images, then you can just move them around like that. So you can have your guards, and let's have a look at them in driver. I'm not actually going to go anywhere with the train, just to have a look at it. Just wait for it to load up. Here we are. So there's Saint-Péray, and we've got our Huskisson with a full load of passengers, one guard facing forward and one guard facing a little way back down the train, facing back. Now obviously these are all first class, and although there was a lot of, most of the passenger traffic was first class, my next modelling job is to make the second class, the blue sort of blue-green second class open carriage with sort of curved sides, and so that will be my next one to add to those, and I'll just be making one of those because they weren't, I think they were numbered, but they certainly weren't named, and the number was pretty small, so I'm just going to go with a single model for that. So that's the Liverpool and Manchester Railway early Rainhill trials period, 1829, 1830, 1840, first class carriage. It'll be available on the next update of my website, which should be within a few days. So by early October 2021 you should be able to download those, and the way I've listed them is you can just click on each name of the carriage in turn in order to download each carriage. You can either have one, or which you just duplicate all the way along, or you can have 9 different ones, which I think is probably the maximum they ever had. So, yeah, 9. The maximum they ever had on trains, more likely to have only been 2 or 3, but at least then you've got some variety. And once I created Huskisson, all of those were fairly quick to do as cloned up after that. They look rather nice with Saint-Péray. You sort of get to the point where you think, it would have been quite nice if Saint-Péray had won at the Rainhill trials, but then goodness knows it might not have advanced locomotive design very quickly. Anyway, there we are. So Liverpool and Manchester Railway first class carriages available by the 1st of October from my website, maybe a day or two earlier, and you're welcome to download them. They're freeware, as are all my models, and I'll also be putting up some more reskins of some of Military Train's ships on that update as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this short video. If you have, please give me a thumbs up, Please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, and by all means leave a comment, and look out for my next model production, which will be the second Liverpool and Manchester Railway second class, followed by the coal wagon, which comprises of a chassis with two tubs, I suppose is the only way to call them, rectangular tubs, which is basically also third class. So there we are, pretty tough travellers back in the days of the Georgian and I suppose you'd call it William IV, Williamite period of railways.